the book of Proverbs is living life God's way. We were born wanting to live life our own way. All of us, like sheep, have gone astray. We want to live our own way. God says, no, I want you to live my way. And so living God's way comes to the next topic in the book of Proverbs. We've talked about being saved, that's being wise, being servant-hearted, wanting to do God's will, being selective, careful, like Solomon wasn't, submissive, not to be proud, like Lucifer was and became Satan. Now we're looking at the topic of being singular. Now this is how Jesus put it. In the Sermon on the Mount, he said, if your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. Do you guys remember that in the Sermon on the Mount? Jesus talks about an eye single. Now I want to talk about singularity in one area. It's the topic of marriage. And that's a huge topic in the book of Proverbs. And marriage is, for most people throughout most of time, most people have been married. Have you ever thought about that? This new thing in our generation, did you know your generation aren't getting married? The generation before were living together. Now they don't even live together. They just have no desire for marriage or children. I mean, America has become in an amazing place. Our birth rate is going down where for America, unless we get more immigrants, we're going to start declining like Japan is, like Western Europe is, like most countries are. Most civilized countries, their birth rate is going down. You have to have 2 children just to keep the population even. The average right now is 1.7. So 2 people need to have 2 children or population declines. Right now they're having 1.7. I can't make my finger only 0.7, but you know what I mean. Why? Well, it's because of this. And let me give you an illustration before I jump into marriage. Isn't that, that's like a Hallmark card. Isn't that the idea, this perfect wedding shot? That is not how most people think of marriage. Watch, this is my when I pastored in Georgia illustration. If you are driving down a Georgia road and you see a pickup truck and you see a guy with his arm out the window, you come up behind him and there's this head of a guy, and right next to him, it looks like another head, but it's so close it almost looks like it's one person driving that car. Do you know what you've come up behind? A dating couple. The guy's here and the girl is so close to him, you can't see light between them. They're like that. Okay, now if you're driving around Georgia Road and you get up behind a pickup and you see a head here, and over on this side you see a head, what do you see? A married couple. And that's what Americans think. Romance, excitement, everything is dating. Who wants to ever go to that and be married? Probably there's a car seat between them. That's why they're not sitting, close. But you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Marriage isn't very exciting for people. You know why? Because it's hard. For 2 selfish people that want their own way to unite and to have a shared life is very hard. But God says marriage is the second greatest day of your life. I do weddings. I've done 300 weddings, 300 couples I've married. And you know what I do? I shake the whole congregation up. They all come in and the pretty music, and they're standing there in front of me, and I'm up in front, and I have my Bible, and I always say the same thing. I say, welcome to the second greatest day of this couple's life. There's whispering in the congregation. They go, is this a second marriage for them? What is he talking about? And see, it's an exciting moment as a pastor. I love weddings and funerals because everybody listens. Did you know that? Everybody listens at weddings and funerals. In church, they don't listen. They've heard it all. So they're all whispering. I say, yeah, it's the second greatest day because I've heard their testimony of the greatest day of their life, which is the day they bowed in faith and trusted the Lord Jesus Christ, because I always ask their testimony. Okay, why would I say that marriage is the second greatest day in someone's life? What did God pick to portray the greatest joy of heaven? What is heaven going to be? Heaven is coming down out of heaven like heaven, the place, the physical place, like a bride adorned for her husband. That's how God describes heaven. God describes heaven like it's a wedding. And yet, who wants to be married? It's because most people don't even understand the Christian life, let alone heaven or God's designs for marriage.